I've been playing Halo, particularly the first one, Halo Combat Evolved, as long as I can remember, and it's my favorite game of all time. It reminds me of the more simpler time when I was a little kid and had no worries in the world. And it also made me feel close to my dad, who introduced me to the game when I was like 4 or 5 years old, as he'd let me play split screen with him at my mom's dismay. So the thought of this game that's so important to me getting a potential ground up remake is a huge deal. And I feel like it's pretty much confirmed at this point. I mean, that Phil Spencer comment had to be about this game, right?
25 years of Xbox with a new Fable, the next Forza, Gears of War E-Day, and the return of a classic that's been with us since the beginning.
So looking for ways to release my building anticipation for this game, I figured I'd put together a list of the 10 things a Combat Evolved remake would absolutely need in order to be a great game. Halo's been in a rocky place these last few years, and with that 6-year gap between Halo 5 and Halo Infinite, and then Halo Infinite's launch and the lack of content there, and then now a rebrand because all faith in the studio was so bad they could never be trusted to release another game under 343. Yeah, they really need this remake to be a good one. And here's how I think they should do it. So we're gonna work our way up to the one thing they need to do that I feel is the most important. That means we have to begin with the least important, yet still cool thing Halo Studios needs to do in order to have a great launch is release the game on Xbox and Halo's 25th anniversary, November 15th, 2026. Actually committing to this release date and making it happen alongside a bunch of other Xbox themed fanfare could really help build up hype for this game. With the future of Halo on the line, it's hype that only serves to benefit any potential goodwill that comes with the studio rebrand. If this game can launch with all of the things I'm about to list in this video at the same time Xbox is celebrating a huge milestone, it would be a great way to reposition Halo as a deserved staple of the Xbox brand. Moving down the list to number 9, assuming this game will release in 2026, Xbox as a brand will most likely be no stranger to releasing once limited franchises on every platform it can, meaning on PlayStation as well as Xbox, which will be a first for the Halo franchise, in which, to be honest, I really love to see happen. I think separating player bases by consoles in a world where PC is dominant anyways is arbitrary and stupid. To me, it's all about letting people play together wherever they prefer to play. So if this remake does come out on PlayStation, the multiplayer better be crossplay and cross progression with all other platforms available. And I hope this practice becomes the industry standard, and that starts with requesting it from our favorite upcoming games. Moving down into number 8, we get into some specifics of the game, and with potential changes that could happen to the narrative in a remake, it opens up the possibility to include entire new levels or plot points. Maybe there are things that weren't included in the novel version of the game that weren't seen in the game itself that now could be. Or maybe new levels could come from cut content of the original game. Again, providing that it actually works. I know some things are cut for a reason. And while it's exciting to think about how much new content could be added to a remake of a beloved game, I do think it's important to remember that the original was special for a reason. I hope Halo Studios doesn't go about adding whole levels just for the sake of change or other spectacle, because that could really backfire. So after adding the caveat that any drastic changes are vetted and are carefully created to fit within the world of the original game, I do think there's strong potential for some really interesting new levels to be seen in a remake. But moving on to number 7 of the list, we all know that Halo Combat Evolved isn't known as a masterpiece of storytelling. While its narrative was still somewhat impressive at the time, maybe not somewhat, that might be offensive. It's not particularly a game that the story is the reason it's remembered for. But I think it'd be interesting to see an approach to a remade story that tries to focus at least a little more on the characters at hand. Though it's down here at number 7 for a reason. I don't think it's 100% required, and I feel like it could pretty easily feel like a step into the Halo Infinite or Halo 4 sort of direction.
I've waited so long to do that.
So it's not entirely required, and it could be easily messed up. But if there's an interesting enough idea on how to accomplish this, then I'd like to see how it plays out. Halo's premise is inherently interesting, and since the original game has a whole universe of lore now, including some of those aspects into the franchise, does have the potential to do pretty well, as long as it's approached carefully. Sliding into number 6, Halo Combat Evolved is known as the game with all of the backtracking in the second half of the story. A remake could be a really good place to rectify that mistake in the appropriate areas. There are particular story reasons that some places are repeated, and it was done well in the original. Like, the best example of this would be the Pillar of Autumn. Seeing it all destroyed at the end of the game is a core part of the experience. I hope that isn't changed just so they can defeat the backtracking allegations. But there were some areas that were repeated to save resource space on the original game. Seeing new variants of these areas that still serve the original purpose could open up some opportunities for cool things. A good example could be changes to the level 2 betrayals. Maybe rather than playing through an identical map to Assault in the Control Room, just in reverse and at night, the same plot structure could still apply, that the energy silos on the ring need to be destroyed, but you enter the area through a back way that wasn't available or even seen earlier in the game, or something to that effect. Something where it's like, this area is just on the other side of where we were playing earlier, it's just not the exact same thing you're playing through. Though I am just kind of spitballing with this, it could be an entirely new area made for that mission. Maybe we get an actual desert area similar to what we see in parts of Halo 3. That could provide for an interesting contrast to the snow that's in Assault in the Control Room. I mean, when we're talking about different level variants, the sky's the limit. As long as it fits with something we would have seen in the original and still makes sense for the game's plot without, completely redoing certain things, they could do anything. Moving into number 5, halfway through, I want Halo Studios to treat Halo CE Remake like a full-fledged mainline Halo game release, because it would honestly be the best thing for the franchise in this moment. Truly give the community and even beyond something to be hype about. Fill this game to the brim with all of the content expected of any major Halo game. I'd love to see a full commitment to Forge mode. Just use Halo Infinites. Like, obviously you have to bring it into the new engine, that might be hard, but Forge, Firefight mode with a range of options and modifiers. A theater mode that works. With all of these things present at launch, I mean, just show us that Halo Studios knows how to do that where 343 didn't. Because in 2025, releasing a game at launch full of content worth the asking price, you'll be doing better than most the industry at this point if you can deliver that. Delivering on that premise, and especially a remake, a game where admittedly these sorts of features really aren't expected, a surprise like that would really go a long way in building good faith with the community and new fans alike. I mean, especially if we're talking about crossplay and bringing it to PlayStation, showing all the PlayStation people a good time right off the rip, it'd be a good way to build good faith. And with Halo being such a rich franchise, I mean, there's so many game modes and ideas and maps and options that you could bring into this thing. It just seems like it'd be too easy, but what do I know? I don't make video games. Related to number 5, number 4, we've got having a good multiplayer. Halo CE did not have online capabilities when it released in 2001, but that didn't stop it from becoming a centerpiece of some crazy looking LAN parties. A truly great remake would do everything in its power to recreate that experience just in the modern setting. Promoting game chats, bringing back those old maps but reimagined, making the pistol an absolute sniper, putting in that goofy ass twist the Spartans would do once shot. One thing I have to say about the current state of Halo right now, they can really be good about keeping the Halo multiplayer experience well in line with what it's always has been. In certain ways, it's still similar to that original game. Give the players fair starts, have them fight for the objectives, vehicles, and power weapons, and you have a winning formula. What specifically I want to see in a modern CE multiplayer is some liberties taken in a ranked mode. I'd be pretty curious to see how competitive this game could get and in what ways they tweak the gameplay and/or sandbox for a competitive environment. But talking about multiplayer, we have to talk about number 3 on my list, and that is make it split screen co-op. I mean, does this even need to be said at this point? Like, when they sat down in the boardroom to decide what game to make next, The only thing written on that whiteboard when they all walked in better have said all games need to have split screen co-op. It's crazy. It's been well over 10 years since we've seen a Halo game release with split screen co-op. And the only reason I care this much about this franchise is because of the time I spent playing it on the couch next to my dad. It's part of the legacy. Even if it's no longer quite as utilized as it was back in those days, it's still a pretty easy way to engage potential new players. Having good split screen capabilities in a campaign and multiplayer is essentially low-cost word-of-mouth marketing. It allows people to try the game and connect that experience positively with a friend or loved one, which could eventually lead to the sale of another copy of the game. And I mean, you know what? Fuck the business explanation. It's been a massive request for fans for years. You have huge YouTubers threatening to boycott your series, the series that launched their careers over the false promises of split screen. I mean, just add it in. It honestly can't be that hard at this point, right? But we gotta move into number 2 on the list. That, for me, is gameplay of the original. This remake needs to have just about the same gameplay as the original game. Obviously update some of the controls to what feels natural for modern players, or at least have the setting to switch those things up. But there's no need to make any big changes to the core experience that Halo Combat Evolved offers. I'd like to see the same weapon sandbox. And for the love of God, please study the enemy AI so that way encounters feel just as dynamic as the original game. Because as good as Halos 2 and 3 are, it is something I felt kind of fall off with every subsequent sequel in the franchise. The enemy AI in Halo CE is just so unique, and it makes every encounter feel drastically different, even if you've been playing the game for 20 years. That really needs to be studied and brought in. And there's just something so simple in Halo CE's mechanics, and it's a big part of the game's feel and character. If they went and added in things like equipment or a myriad of new weapons, it just really wouldn't be doing justice to what the original game was able to pull off with so little. If you get this core gameplay loop and enemy behavior right, there's absolutely no need for any new gimmicks to enhance the gameplay in some attempt to make it more engaging for this TikTok generation. Oh my god, I sound old. But it just doesn't need to be more packed full of action than the fun gameplay loop that it had in the original game. Because I can't fully put into words everything that makes it up, but that original game is honestly still fun to go back and replay all these years later. So changing it up just for the sake of changing it up would kind of suck. And that kind of leaves me with just number 1 on the list to talk about. The number 1 most important thing, and man, it and gameplay are pretty close actually to me. But number 1 has got to be the art style that services the original game. Because this was the biggest mistake of the 2010 remaster that we got. That game took a big old dump all over the artistic intent of huge sections of the original game. Now using Unreal Engine 5 and potentially building a remake from the ground up gives the Halo Studios team the perfect opportunity to really study what made this game so special from a style standpoint. And hopefully they can come out with something that really holds the soul of the original game we all fell in love with. Because if you're just doing something to look brand new, why not just make something brand new? And that's actually one thing that kind of freaks me out with the little bit we know about this game. And I guess that you could spin it and say we don't know it about this game because it's hard to say. But Halo Studios' Project Foundry, which shows that image of a CE Master Chief with the CE pistol, all rendered in Unreal Engine 5. Something about looking at the images of the Halo ring that they showed has me a little worried about kind of overdoing the detail. Because I know Unreal Engine 5 is a beast of an engine and can do some crazy stuff. There is a certain simplicity that Halo CE had in its art style and color palette all had that hyper-realism just doesn't come up to. I mean, if they tried to make Halo Combat Evolved look hyper-realistic in 2001, it'd look awful now. That's like a thing with hyper-realistic graphics, is they kind of end up dating themselves. Because of when they were made, that's the closest they could get to hyper-real at the time, and that always changes. Whereas, to me, the graphics of Halo CE are almost timeless. They never get real old. And I mean, I guess that, I don't know if that's just a bias thing because I play it and love it, but there's something about it that I think even shocks people I'm showing the game to, where I go, you know, they made this in 2001, and then show it next to like Grand Theft Auto Vice City. And there's something that Halo CE does so much better than all of the other games that came out even in the few years after it. And it comes from its style, the color scheme. It wasn't shooting for hyper realistic, it was shooting to convey a mood. And yeah, seeing these pictures from Halo Studios already freaks me out a little bit that they're going for hyper realistic, which isn't Halo CE. If you're remaking Halo CE, do something that serves Halo Combat Evolved, not something that serves photorealism. And if you nail that number one thing, if you get that look right, if you get those graphics right, and you make something timeless, that's at least half the game here of making a Halo CE remake. To me anyways, as a fan of the original game. You could mess up, maybe tweak the gameplay in a way that kind of sucks. It wouldn't be great, but I don't know if it'd be as detrimental as really screwing up the art style. Because I mean, look at the Halo, look at the 2010 remaster. That game had the exact same gameplay. They just plastered the new looks over top, and they were awful. And people hate that remaster. I mean, I guess it wasn't advertised as a remake, so people expected the same gameplay and didn't like the way it was remastered because that was the whole point, was to remaster it, and it sucked. But that could happen here too, even in a remake. If the gameplay is really good, the multiplayer is really good, there are a lot of people who'd really hate if they just absolutely destroyed the style that was supposed to come in the original game. That turned into a ramble. Sorry about that. But we're gonna head. I have one more bonus one. It's not more important, it's just a bonus one I want to throw out there. And that's, please, for the love of everything, release a physical copy. Put it on a disc. Xbox has been really bad, as much as I hate to say it. PlayStation's been better in this regard. They've been really bad at putting, like, I've heard, I don't know, the specifics, but a lot of the games coming out fall of 2025 are going to be digital codes in boxes. That's terrible. Why do that? Why even put the disc drive on the freaking thing in the first place? Because I bet to be backwards compatible, the next Xbox will have a disc drive. Why do that if you're going to quit printing discs? It's kind of stupid. I'd really like to see a game that's such a big deal, especially to a Halo collector like me, come on a physical disc. Because, I mean, I have other copies of Halo 1 that aren't here. But if this remake doesn't come out on a disc, it'll be the only Halo game that I'll probably never have on a disc. And that would really suck. At least, again, for weird collector nerds like me, but I think we're kind of a big part of the people who are still paying attention and talking about Halo. So, not doing that kind of thing would just feel kind of dumb. It would be amazing too if they had like special editions, like a steelbook of a remake, Halo Combat Evolved. Like that, I would buy that so fast. But it should have a disc in it, please. Just do it. And yeah, I mean, especially if they follow all the things on this list and end up making the perfect Halo game for the future, but I can't get it on disc, that would be tragic. But let me know in the comments if there's anything you think a Halo CE remake absolutely needs in order to be considered great among the community and gamers in general. With that, thanks for watching.